We give her a round of applause again. Electronic hand. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. At this point, we'll call on Dr. Eze Elias Okechukwu. Give us your final word from the hospital community. Hospital pharmacists, tell us, just a round up for us and convince us the more that yes, the hospital pharmacists are the stewards when it comes to antimicrobial stewardship.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kerr. I want to disagree on the issue of monitoring of the use of antimicrobial, as stated in her last statement. Of course, we know that most of the patients that go to the community pharmacy are actually ambulatory patients who do not, who are not admitted in the premises, of course. And when they go home, how these antimicrobials are used, of course, they don't have control over them. And of course, it's about the use of these antimicrobials that result in antimicrobial resistance, which we are talking about. And the way of preventing it is through antimicrobial stewardship. Having said that, I want to also say something about the outreach is talked about. If you talk about outreach, we at the hospital pharmacy practice area, we have more opportunities to go for outreach without having concern on the time we spend there, because down back at the hospital, we also have pharmacists that are working there that we don't have interest. Most of them, when they go out for outreach, what comes to their mind is how they go back. Some staff, they are not pharmacists, they lead to antimicrobial resistance. Or having said that, I want to also say that at the hospital level, we also carry out a lot of researches. That's because we do documentation a lot. Of course, one of the ways of improving antimicrobial stewardship program is doing research to see how you can improve on what you have already at hand. In the community pharmacy practice, if you go to get documents on how to carry out further research to improve AMS program, you not see it there. And because of the documentation, we already know that whatever is not documented is not done. And I therefore believe strongly that in that area, they are lacking. They can't even improve, because through research, they can improve upon what you have already at hand. Having said that, I want to also say something about the issue of requests for antimicrobial that are made in community practice. Most of the time, you go to community pharmacy practice, and you hear a lot of people coming to request for drugs, including antimicrobials. And most of the time, the pharmacy at the community level will not even say no, because if he says no, the patient will go to the next available pharmacy outlet or even the patent medicine store. To this. What is the result? The result is antimicrobial resistance. Of course, I want to summarize by saying there's no way you can what the hospital pharmacists are doing with respect to antimicrobial stewardship program in terms of monitoring the patient, in terms of critical meetings that help even pharmacists to improve on daily basis. Most times, these community pharmacists, when you get to their premises, what you see is maybe one or two pharmacists that come to rotate amongst themselves. So there's no interpersonal knowledge transfer most of the time, because they don't come together to discuss issues on how to improve this program. And with these points, I want to believe that I'll be able to convince you that hospital pharmacists is the more gatekeeper than the community pharmacy practitioners. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The last speaker who spoke in support of the hospital. Dr. Timi, you are back. You can take it from here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So at this point, we are going to be waiting for our panel of judges to come out with their results. I mean, who has been able to convince us? Is it the community pharmacy? Is it the hospital pharmacy? Meanwhile, while we wait for them to come up with the results, we welcome contributions to buttress the points. Are you supporting? Are you opposing? Whatever is said here will not be added to what we are going to be adding up for who is going to be winning. It's just at this point, it's just contributions. So who's going to tell us something? Hospital setting, community setting, who is talking to us? Please, can you indicate by raising up your electronic hand? Wow, a lot of persons wants to say something. Can we start with pharmacist Idris Popola? Unmute yourself and make your contribution.
Thank you very much for the speakers. They have all spoken very well. I hope you can hear me. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. We can hear you.
Have spoken very well on both sides, but I want to just contribute to support the hospital practice that as a gatekeeper, because the key drivers of AMS, are it's a multidisciplinary approach, which you can only find in the hospital. Unfortunately, you hardly see that in community practice. You also look at the practice settings. The observed practice in the community settings and the hospital settings are quite different. You tend to have more standard of care in an hospital setting compared to the community setting. Then AMS is also, laboratory services are also very important in driving AMS. So you see more of laboratory services for MCS, before antibiotics are prescribed. You see that more in hospital practice than in community practice. Then if you look at the chaotic distribution of drugs in our own setting, it tends to, portray the community pharmacy in a very bad, light compared to hospital settings. Somebody also mentioned quality control laboratory in the hospital settings. You hardly see that in community practice. Then research, because when you want to do AMS, there are some antibiotics you will rest if you find that they have been overused or abused, and you can only know that through research. Point prevalence research. You hardly see that in the community practice. You see that more in the hospital practice. And most of the champion of AMS, antimicrobial stewardship, are from the hospital. You can check that out. So with these, I believe the hospital pharmacist is a gatekeeper for AMS. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you very much. I'm calling on Dr. Noble and Esther. Can we have your contribution?
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Evening.
Evening.
Yes.
I'm not a pharmacist. I'm a medical doctor, and I practice in both urban and rural areas. So I can confidently say the the stewardship should be with the hospital pharmacist. In fact, the community pharmacists, they are doing more harms in Nigeria than good, because most of them, all of them, are business oriented. And whenever a patient walks into the pharmacy to buy a medication, whether with prescription or without prescription, all they're after is the patient's money. And thereafter, they care not about what's happened to the patient. None of these community pharmacists can tell us the record of the patient that they have. Imagine somebody can come to the pharmacist, community pharmacist, and buy antibiotics of 100 naira, antibiotics of 50 naira. For how long? Then they create gateway for the emergence of antibiotic resistance, which has created a lot of problem for us. There's absolutely no control system in the community pharmacist. But when you come to the hospital setting, You know, almost all the hospitals we have, like in my own hospital, we have what we call drug therapeutic committee, that is DTC. We review this the antibiotics and almost every drug with antibiotics. In fact, there was a time that we were able to send back the entire batch of ceftriaxone that were a procured for the hospital because they were not working. None of the community pharmacists can beat their chest and say they will be sincere enough to destroy a batch of medication because they discovered they are fake. They are after money, and they have created a lot of problems. If we are having a complicated cases in the hospital, most of them have visited this community pharmacist or patent medical store. But in the hospital, we worked in a team, either mortality review or in the drug committee, in the drug and therapeutic committee, which different hospitals have their own different names and control mechanism. It doesn't exist in this community pharmacies. Again, if you go to the community pharmacies, there's absolute lack of human power. You have a one pharmacist, and that pharmacist is sitting somewhere inside, and he will not even be bothered with what is happening outside here on the counter. People will come. I need drugs for headache and fever. Yeah. How much? 15 naira, 20 naira. So which kind of antibiotic, apart from the ones I knew that I can give him to them, apart from the maybe azithromycin that you can take one dose and maybe cure, which one are they doing? They are business people causing problems in the health system. They should stop. In fact, the pharmaceutical strategy of Nigeria should raise up to the challenge of this community pharmacies. They are menace to our health system. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you. And most especially, we want to appreciate you. You are a physician in our midst, Dr. Noble. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Our national chairman is here too, Dr. Joseph Madu. I know when he's giving his vote of thanks, he's going to appreciate you more. Thank you so much. We are very happy to have you here tonight, and we enjoy your wonderful contribution too. So I'm calling on Dr. Nuhu. Please, can we have your contribution? After this, I'm going to find out whether the results are ready. Our panel of judges, are you people almost done?
Yes, we are done.
Ah, you are done? Okay, let's take this comment from Dr. Nuhu first, then you can tell us what you have done. Thank you.
Good day, distinguished colleagues. Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Good day, distinguished colleagues. It has been a very wonderful evening, and I just want to put more weight to the hospital pharmacies that they are actually the gatekeepers. There are a lot of things that have been done in the hospital pharmacy. The major driver of antimicrobial stewardship is teamwork, which is what is completely lacking in the community setting. In my hospital, for example, even while they prescribe empirically over a period of time, because of extensive research we've done over a long period of time, we've been able to come out with antibiogram with respect to the organisms that are peculiar to our own region and how they respond to the antibiotic use pattern, because there is a collaboration within the physicians, the pharmacists, the laboratory scientists, and the nurses. So we've been able to come out with an antibiogram and say for so microorganism, E. coli, over a period of time based on our research in patients that we have been having, it responds more to these particular organisms, which is what has also been lacking. And for some antibiotics that we know, you cannot actually monitor their use except with therapeutic drug monitoring, something like vancomycin, for example. You measure their trough with therapeutic drug monitoring, which is one of the things that we'll be able to do. You can only do in the hospital setting, and you cannot do that in the community setting. And also, once we come to antibiotic stewardship, one edge that the hospital pharmacists are is that he removed bias from his judgment. For example, in the hospital pharmacies, if an antimicrobial, maybe doxycycline, will be more appropriate for a patient compared to augmentin of maybe about 10,000 naira, we'll remove bias and tell him, which is one thing that I don't think a community pharmacist will decide to say, okay, let me give doxycycline of 100 or 200 naira. That is the more appropriate drug than augmentin, which is of 10,000 naira, because honestly, the most important is that most community pharmacies are profit-oriented, which is one of the things, the cutting edge that the hospital pharmacies do. And with also, in respect to the drug quality control, which is one facility that we have in my hospital, we monitor all drugs that come in, look at the percentage of active ingredients, and also be able to reject drugs if they fail the necessary test, which is one of the things that a lot of community pharmacies are lacking. So I believe with this viewpoint of mine, I'll continue to insist that the hospital pharmacies are actually the gatekeeper. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much. Can we briefly hear from you there? DAE there. I can see you. Your hands are up. Can we quickly hear from you? Your contribution.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm pharmacist Emmanuel. I'll really go with the community pharmacy. In as much as I appreciate what the hospital pharmacists are doing, I want to say that the community pharmacist plays a major role as the gatekeeper for antimicrobial stewardship. We are talking about drug monitoring and also monitoring the effectiveness of the medication. From what most of the presenters talked about, they're working with government hospitals. Let's look at the private hospitals. How many pharmacists are working there? Majority. If you try to see one pharmacist, then you are lucky. Many times you just see one pharmacist or two pharmacists that are running shift. Do they really carry out this therapeutic drug monitoring and most of these services?
Continue.
Dr. Isa.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you hear him? Because I
No, I
can't hear
can't.
him again.
I can't hear him.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure it's not from my end. Yeah, but at least we've gotten somebody who is supporting community pharmacy and he has, okay, he just left. I can see there's like he's having a network challenge. Before we round up, let's get to hear from Abatua Suleyo Charity. Your hands are up. Please make your
Yes.
contribution.
Good evening.
Yeah, good
Good
evening.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me,
Yes.
please?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, loud and clear.
Okay, I want to appreciate you for organizing this program. And no, I don't want to waste our time, so I will just go straight. You see, every pharmacist is an antimicrobial steward, whether they work in the community or in the hospital. And like we said, that the community pharmacist has this advantage that is they serve as a first point of call for patient. Most patients they will want to come to the community pharmacy. That is okay. That's true. But then if you look at the hospital setting, the hospital pharmacists also serve as the last point of call. So we can say that while the community pharmacist keeps the entrance gate, the hospital pharmacist keeps the exit gate. Now, the only thing is the advantages that these people have. I would say I would want to go with the hospital pharmacist in the sense being having a major role, even though both of them are gatekeepers. But I would say that they have more opportunity, like many people have mentioned. antimicrobial stewardship being a collaborative approach, and that the hospital pharmacist has more advantage because of the various professionals that are in there, because this program approach cuts across everybody, even the cleaner, the mortician, and all of them are part of this program. And so the hospital present a better opportunity for collaboration. And then you talk about the infection control. You remember these days we're talking about preventive medicine more than curative medicine. So, and then you can see that even in terms of infection control, the hospital presents a better opportunity for this project. And then the issue of UDDS in the hospitals, where the hospital pharmacist is there on the wards, actually monitoring and ensuring that this patient takes their drug when they should, even where UDDS is not functional, but where you still have pharmacists in the ward, they are able to monitor, they're able to work with the nurses to ensure that drugs are administered to this patient, not at their own convenience, but when the patient should actually have this medication. So, I mean, there are quite a number of them that we may not be able to exhaust, but if you look at it generally, while both are gatekeepers, then the hospital pharmacist has a better advantage. And so they have more role to play. Aside that, you also look at the hospital setting, you have different pharmacists working, and some of those units function 24 hours. What it means is that 24 hours, the pharmacist has access to the patient and is able to carry out this role. But the community pharmacy in most pharmacies is just one. If they try it, they are just two. And so the chances of having time being available 24/7 for patients is limited. And then when you are there, that's why if you go to a community pharmacy, it's not all the time that you meet a pharmacist, but in most of our hospitals, especially public hospitals, there's no point in time you go that there's no pharmacist there. So in terms of personnel, having adequate personnel to carry this function, the hospital pharmacist stands at an advantage. I would like to just stop here so I don't speak too much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. We really appreciate your contribution. Yeah, at this point, I want to mention our dear physician, Dr. Noble and Esther. You can see that our national chairman has dropped a message for you in our chat. Please check it out. He dropped his, WhatsApp number. Please check it out and save the number so that he can chat you up. Thank you so much. We are so happy to have you tonight. Then before we call on the panel of judges to tell us the results, I want to call on Dr. Eshiet. I saw your hands up one time. What happened? You've dropped your hand. Dr. Eshiet, if you are still there, please, we need your contribution.
Well, thank you for recognizing me. Good to be here. I've listened to everyone speak, and I'm quite impressed with the contribution that have been made thus far. I want to say that in antimicrobial stewardship, the hospital pharmacist has a more structured platform to provide antimicrobial stewardship, unlike the community pharmacies, which they don't really have that structured platform. However, the community pharmacists, like is already said, they are the first port of call, and they have a more advantageous position to provide antimicrobial stewardship, because in the hospital, the pharmacist, his intervention is subject to acceptance by other healthcare providers. But in the case of a community pharmacist, he initiates and he is able to ensure that his intervention is effective. But in the hospital, it's difficult because you don't run the show. You have to depend on all the collaboration of other healthcare providers to either agree or take your intervention. So that's my own contribution. I'm neither for community or hospital because I don't practice in any of their treatment.
Yes,
Thank you.
I know that you are in the academics. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Please, I want to remind the host and the co-host, help us mute those people that are not talking. Background noise, a lot of background noise. Thank you so much. I recognize you, my national chairman, Dr. Joseph Madu. Please, you can. I know you want to say something. Your hands are up.
Yes. Madam Moderator, good evening once more. And thank you, everyone. I believe you can hear me. Am I audible enough?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Very audible.
Okay. So sorry. I know probably I was supposed to, or I'm supposed to speak at the end of this program, but I won't have something to do. I want to log out. But I say, let me use the opportunity to first of all appreciate all the participants, appreciate and commend the infectious disease pharmacists of Nigeria. And then most importantly, I really want to talk about what the physician, our brother, Dr. Noble and Esther, this method of approach. I'm very happy for having his kind here. I don't know if he's a member of our group, Coalition for Health in Nigeria. After this time, I would like to invite him to join us, where we have so many other physicians too, and nurses that are there. And from all that he said, you discover that we really need to collaborate. He is saying that community pharmacists, a lot of them are doing so much harm that they should not be permitted, or somehow they are causing a lot of trouble. He painted some pictures that are not too okay for community pharmacists. I'm a community pharmacist, and I also listened to some of our colleagues too, speaking from the hospital angle, who were also painting some pictures about the community pharmacy. But my brothers and sisters, one thing I would like to say this night is about the saying that is commonly said in our environment, that madmen have not allowed us to differentiate mechanics from those who are mentally sick. So you find all of them wearing dirty black overalls sometimes. And that is a major problem with community pharmacies in this country. People call every drugstore pharmacy community pharmacy. I don't know the statistics we have taken to know how many of those places that are actually community pharmacies, because there is something we say in my church or in my religion, that it is not the size of a church that makes it a cathedral, but the presence of a bishop. In any premises where you do not have a community pharmacist there, that means it is not a community pharmacy. You must have a registered community pharmacist there to make it. But we have so many drugstores in this country that do not have registered pharmacies. And the government, my government and your government, my brother physician and my other brothers, our government seem to not to be interested in what happens. And so at the end of the day, we finally blame it again on community pharmacies. But I'm aware of community pharmacies in this country that you cannot go and get an underdose of antibiotics. I can bet any amount with you. You cannot go to such community pharmacies and get underdose of antibiotics. So they are doing well. We have a lot of them. It's just that maybe if you have not come across them, or like the fact that in our society today, you may say everybody is bad, but I tell you, even in this country, Nigeria, you will still find good people. Everybody is not bad. Every community pharmacist is not bad or giving drugs costing. No, there are lots of good community pharmacists. And if you start looking out for them, you will always see them. And this is one reason why, if you even tell Nigerians to go to hospitals sometimes and to go to community pharmacies, many will go to tell you that they want to get their drugs from private community pharmacies. And just like someone said, if we are talking about, sorry, I'm not trying to defend community pharmacy. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not part of this debate. But what I'm saying is that if we are talking about what services are offered, if we are talking about government hospitals, fine, maybe you employ pharmacists there. What about non-government private hospitals? Do you see pharmacists there? There are also hospital pharmacies, but there are no pharmacists there, but they claim to be hospital pharmacies. So it's very important we come together. And most importantly, like I am saying, our brother has actually mentioned or somehow stated the importance of the pharmacists in the hospital. But how many of, even our government hospitals, how many of them allow pharmacists into their wards? There are a lot of, even our physician brothers and sisters, whom pharmacists may even try to make, is it correction on the prescription, and it will not be accepted by them. So we are not talking as a family for the benefit of our patients. And this is why, if we have said that pharmacists in hospital are doing well, those are the ones you have seen. What about those hospitals where pharmacists are not even permitted to go into the wards? I heard pharmacists saying that they are working, collaborating with physicians, working with nurses, but I'm highly aware that there are a lot of hospitals that do bulk dispensing in this country. A lot of general government hospitals do not even allow pharmacists into the wards, and that is not too good. And then the ego is there too, that someone may prescribe a drug and the pharmacist is trying to change it or to correct it, the stewardship, it is not accepted. So work done equals to zero by such a hospital pharmacist. So mostly, as I said, please permit me to round up here, but I'm saying that I have dropped my number and I would like to get your number. After this, we'll talk more, and all we shall be doing is to get the best care possible for our people. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you so much, our national chairman, Dr. Joseph Madu, for your wonderful contribution and your wonderful comment. Thank you so much. I can see pharmacists there. You are back. Pharmacists there.
Yes.
Say your name is Emmanuel. Yeah. You were talking when the service logged you out. I want to recognize you to quickly round up.
Okay. As I was saying, as a community pharmacist, we don't just offer medication. I was talking about accessibility. How many patients could go to hospital pharmacists to get information about medication? That's an area whereby a community pharmacist offers so much value. It's not everybody that comes. Many a times we teach this patient, we let them know that no, this problem does not need medication. And what can we say about those pharmacists in the private setting that they have been told by the management, anytime they are dispensing medication, they should conceal the name of the medication, the dose of the medication, everything about the medication. These patients come to us to ask us, okay, what medication are we actually taking? We're having reaction. We have to go through different sources to see if we can identify the medication. That's what you can't really, I doubt if any patient could just walk into a pharmacy in the hospital to meet a pharmacist. Okay, what am I taking? Or what can I do? This condition, does it need antibiotic or not? You don't get to see that in a hospital setting. It's only in the community setting. Then lastly, I'll say that, yes, in a community setting, we know that there are so many, or there are community pharmacists, or let me say, community pharmacists in code, or the pharmacy in code that are not really pharmacies. Now, those are the bad ones. but I want to tell you that there are good ones there. In short, in the area of someone even talked about like not being biased. We never are being biased because we also use the knowledge of pharmacoeconomics. At the same time, we are considering effectiveness. So this debate is about who should be the gatekeeper. It's not about who is doing the right thing or who is doing the wrong thing. Because if you want to go by right and wrong, in the hospital setting, there are so many things happening wrong there. In the community setting, there are so many things going on wrong there. But as a gatekeeper, I want to say that the community pharmacist offers so much services than the hospital pharmacist. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you so much. At this point, we are going to call on our panel of judges. Just before I do that, I want to recognize and appreciate Dr. Bello. Dr. Bello is our SIPA national on the participants list. Dr. Bello, if you are there, just say hi to us. We appreciate you. We thank you for finding out time, providing us this link, and also buying our time to be here. Are you there, Dr. Bello?
Thank you, Dr. Timmy. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank
yeah,
you.
We are always very happy when we hear your voice and when we know that you are there. We appreciate you so much. You always make sacrifices. God bless you, sir. Thank you so much. So at this point, I call on Dr. Issa. Our results, are they ready? I hope you did not add the points that other persons were not talking to read to. Hope your result has been ready before these points came up. Dr. Issa, you have the floor.
But can we start with Dr. Nasara Benjamin? If it is hot, then Dr. Nasara, please can you make your comment
my
first before?
Yeah.
Greetings to all of you. Hello.
Greetings to you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Clearly. We can hear you clearly.
Yes.
This is an interesting debate. I actually will not want to say that I find it difficult to say which group, whether it is the hospital or the community that have done that is the best. But I know all of us as pharmacists are actually gatekeepers in the antimicrobial.
Access is not unmuted.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you. It's just the background noise from. Please, host and co-host, help us mute people that are not talking. Please help us.
Yeah, before we talk about the results, I want to appreciate all the participants and also the debaters. I think all of us have done very, very well. Especially, I salute the effort of the community pharmacist. It is difficult to work as a private sector and at the same time you are delivering much. If we look at the hospital pharmacies, they are organized and public sector, sponsored by government. But the private sector, that's the community, are a private sector. They have to do everything within their reach to meet the needs of the patients. And like all of them said, they are the first point of call for antimicrobial stewardship. So all of us must understand that. Like the national president mentioned, that the private sector, even if we talk about the hospital sector, what about the private sector? As if all of us have forgotten about the private sector. There are a lot of things that are happening in the private hospital sector that does not support antimicrobial stewardship, just like the national president mentioned. For example, in the private sector, do they actually employ pharmacists to work in the private hospital sector? Are there pharmacists in the private hospital sector? How many of them have pharmacists? And how can we carry out antimicrobial stewardship in those private hospitals? Those are key issues that we must understand. Then, of course, based on the structures and the organized processes that we have with the public hospital, you want to say the public hospital are more likely to achieve better results in respect to antimicrobial stewardship, because one, the government is able to employ as many pharmacists and health workers that can work in collaboration to bring out better results. And again, based on the discussions that they have made so far, I want to believe that the hospital pharmacists have actually done much better. Better in the sense that they have they have a lot of structures, processes that are in favor of them. And so you expect to get good outcomes from the hospital sector. But if you look at the private hospital, there are a lot of issues that need to be addressed. So I don't know what my senior colleague have done, but I have tried to give some marks here. And I think based on my scope, the hospital pharmacists have raised a lot of points that is in favor with the kind of practice that they do. One is research. You know, they are more engaged in the aspect of research than the community pharmacists. Reason could be as maybe because they work as a collaborative team. It's possible for you to see the pharmacists and the medical lab and doctors working together to come out with a research with respect to antimicrobial stewardship. And the issue of adherence is well stated with the hospital pharmacies participant. They mention key issues with respect to adherence to medication. And also sourcing of drug is an important aspect that all of us must consider as pharmacists when we talk about antimicrobial stewardship. And many of them claim that they have infectious prevention team. And I know that many hospitals have infectious and prevention team. And they also have what we call drug and therapeutic committee. So this is a committee or a group of committees that bring pharmacists, doctors, and all healthcare workers to work in collaboration. Anything you do in group, you likely to have better results. And the hospital pharmacist also mentioned the issue of quality control. Of course, most of these hospitals, many hospitals, especially the tertiary hospital, have quality control unit, and there is no how you can rule out this important aspect from antimicrobial stewardship. Then they also mentioned the issue of expertise. Yes, because of the collaboration within the hospital, they are likely to have experts, and government is also supporting them by employing all of these people to work together in one facility. There is an important issue that they raise about over-prescription and irrational prescription that is more likely to happen in the community pharmacies. Yes, it could happen in some of these community pharmacies because they are still struggling, especially those ones that are not registered by pharmacists. They are likely to do this kind of things. But I also know for sure that there are a lot of community pharmacies that I visit, and I was very, very impressed with the kind of work they do. Some of them don't sell drugs as we think. They won't give you antimicrobial agent if it is not needed. I know a lot of them, so many of them, in fact, in Jos, I know so many of them that are doing excellently well. But you cannot rule out the issue of overprescription and irrational prescription, because most of the time prescriptions are generated within the pharmacy. Is that clear? But in the hospital, prescriptions are mostly generated by the physician, and the pharmacist will go through the prescription and make sure that they are rationally okay before it is dispensed to patients. And of course, they do that with patient education and what have you. There's also the aspect of monitoring that they mentioned. But when you look at the side of the community pharmacies, most of the points that they raise are also very valid, but they didn't raise as many points as the hospital pharmacists did. One of the key strengths that they have is that they are the first point of call. And I believe that if this aspect can be strengthened, then antimicrobial stewardship will be much better. If there is a way that community pharmacy can strengthen this advantage that they have in administering antimicrobial stewardship, then it will promote health. Then they have a very good spread, yes, which is also an aspect of that first point of call. They have a very good spread. Virtually everywhere you go, you are likely to see one community pharmacy or the other. But my question is, we should try as much as possible to make sure that these community pharmacies have pharmacists that are employed to register the community pharmacy. You don't have a community pharmacy and the pharmacist is not there. That is not a community pharmacy. Yes, the community pharmacy group mentioned the issue of care. Of course, we cannot rule out this. I know many of them, they do this. They render good care. People can enter and come out of the pharmacy without getting a medication. What will take some of them to a community pharmacy is not just to go and buy, but to seek advice, get information with respect to medications. I know many of them do that. Then there's, yes, they talk about health outreaches and health talk. Yes, many of them do this. But if you look at the total number of points, valid points that were mentioned by all the groups, you will see that hospital pharmacies had more valid points than the community pharmacy. And I base my argument and score based on these important points that are also mentioned for you to know. And based on this, I want to say that the community pharmacy, based on my scoring, have 60 points, while the hospital have 72. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. I was just giving you a round of applause here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Benjamin Nasara Joseph. You know, I was actually looking for you. I was looking for you on the participant list. I didn't know you used your phone and you did not edit it with your name. I would have recognized you right long time. Yeah. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. So that's our Dex Officer 2 of this wonderful specialty group. Dr. Issa, the Dex Officer 1, you want to say something? Or you want to give us another? Your Dex Officer 2 already declared
I'll just give a vote of thanks.
The winner.
I'll just give a vote of thanks. I'll not go again into any judgment.
Okay. Yes. Okay, beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Just before you do that, I want to recommend that these wonderful participants, 2 from the community pharmacy and 2 from the hospital pharmacy, should be given a certificate of appreciation.
I agree.
They have done a wonderful job. Yes, they should be given certificate of appreciation for doing this. Thank you so much. Yeah, so infectious disease pharmacists of Nigeria, we please put that together and get these wonderful debaters this certificate of participation, appreciation. And subsequently, we may be doing that from time to time for some of our presentations. So at this point, I'll call on our Desk Officer 1, Dr. Issa Abduminun, to give us a vote of thanks and possibly the closing prayer. Thank you so much. I remain Dr. Timipre Okerogene Agogo, your moderator for tonight. It was a very, very interesting section, and I'm happy to moderate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Timmy, for a very wonderful moderation of our very first pharmacotherapy debate. And it's my pleasure and honor to thank you all for coming to establish that every pharmacist has a role to play in antimicrobial stewardship. The development, review, and implementation of guidelines and policies, clinical advice to optimize prescription and use of antimicrobial agents, monitoring, auditing, and providing feedback, educating the public, educating healthcare professionals on the use of antimicrobial agents, development, testing, and implementation. These are all roles that pharmacists can play in the ensuring that antimicrobial agents are rationally used at all times. So we have been able to establish that, and we are very happy that next time people will come here ready to hear more about the pharmacotherapy debate. I assure you that next time will be more pharmacotherapy than the discussions about who is right, who is wrong. We'll present direct cases, direct situations, and ask you, the debaters, to decide which is the order. I thank all members of the Infectious Disease Pharmacists Association. I thank our physician, the guests that joined us, and I must also especially thank our colleagues from the Air Force, starting from the squadron leader that I saw earlier, and the many flying officers that I can see. I must specifically mention my good friend and brother, Ibrahim Amidu. I can see him online also. Thank you all for taking your time to stay with us. We do hope to bring you better activities next time. And if at any point you want to join the Infectious Disease Pharmacist group, feel free to contact me at any time. My phone number is on the flyer that announced the program, and you will be added to the group immediately. The Infectious Disease Pharmacists Association of Nigeria group is a specialty group of the Clinical Pharmacists Association of Nigeria, and there we are interested in rational use of antimicrobial agents. Thank you, everyone, and we pray that we all sleep well, wake up well, and do have a very wonderful night rest. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much, sir.